Facebook O'Reilly home team. 1 in 4 women
Five,
experience
4, 3, 2, 1. Come on now, shoot, 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 shark, and shark, and baby shark. Oh man, sorry. I messed that up. But
What's up, everybody?
who got you from my mic?
Yeah, I think so.
What's up, everybody? You guys are listening to Radio Azad, where your voice matters.
Matters.
Matters, yaar, मेरा voice matters करता है, yaar. This is season 5, Superheroes, the season of superheroes. Tonight's episode is all about Embarrass Man.
You are such an embarrassed man.
Why are you such an embarrassed man? Nah, dude, I don't get embarrassed, man. This episode was inspired by kind of like my level of shamelessness. And
yeah, nothing gets him embarrassed.
I don't know, man. Like I think there's a superhero power to it. You know, there's obviously some shame.
Yeah.
There's some shame that like also comes along with it as well.
I think you get embarrassed, but you're really good at hiding it.
I actually, you know what? Okay, so this is what I do. I actually go into my own brain and then I keep replaying the moment. I'm sure everybody does this. And especially in times where I couldn't defend myself, that's when I'm just like, oh no, like, and I get so obsessed with what I would have done in that moment that I've just gotten really good at just accepting what it is most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
And so rather than feeling embarrassed or rather than feeling shameful or whatever, I just kind of roll with it and I laugh with it because most of the time it's probably funny.
You know who would be the antagonist for Embarrassed Man, or Embarrassed Man would be the antagonist for Confident Man?
Why?
Because I think people that have confidence, don't let embarrassment get to them.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Confident man.
Yeah.
I think, that's probably right. The reason why I don't get embarrassed is probably because I have more confidence. Yeah.
See?
That's really
okay,
fun.
sure.
Okay, all right. Have a good night, guys. We're done. Yeah. So it's funny because I feel like there's this video that Azad put on his socials, and then he put it on all the socials. I didn't think that he was gonna go this far as to like, but it's me at the CDRS.
Oh yeah.
fundraiser, and there's this like whack band, whiz act, like crazy. They did such a good job trying. That was embarrassing for that, but no, I'm just playing. They did it pretty decent. They were okay. What was the heart? What was the heart sound that they made?
What's that?
My heart goes bang, bang.
Oh, boom, boom.
Yeah, boom, boom instead of.
It was bum, bum.
Bum, bum. They said my.
I think well, bum, bum, bole, or.
Yeah, it's
boom,
actually
boom.
boom. Yeah. Anyway, so that's embarrassing too. But like, I feel like, in that whole thing, Azad was like, dude, I'm not going to show up to this event unless you're there because you're going to entertain all of us with your craziness. And I was like, yeah, it'll be fun. Like, and so then he's like, and then in the middle of the dinner, he's just like, why aren't you being stupid? And I was like, all right, fine. So then I turned it up and Madiha has her phone like in my face the whole time. And look, this is sparkly. I don't know if you guys, this is a story. I'll tell you guys, this is an embarrassing story too. And and I'm just like turning up and I'm doing my thing or whatever. And then Azad's guy makes clips and he puts it all together. And then Azad puts it on the Radio Azad page, on his personal page, on his Instagram, like everywhere. And it's just me being stupid. And it's funny.
I think it's an aspect of Radio Azad that's like probably overlooked, right? That we're taken maybe as too serious.
Yeah.
And people also want to know us as people, right?
Yeah.
And I think you do a great job at expressing yourself and embarrassing us. I'm so
expressing yourself, embarrassing us. You don't embarrass yourself, you express yourself, but you embarrass us. That's funny, bro. That's funny.
Bro, that was so jokes.
It's so good though.
Yeah, it was a good joke.
But that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't get embarrassed. I think it's funny. So, but I didn't realize that it was like gonna be at this like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like a couple of thousand people have already seen it.
Absolutely, yeah, more than that, dude. Come on.
They're like, who's this idiot?
Yeah. No, not at all. They probably saw the life behind Radio Azad, right?
I don't know.
There's some life, like, I mean, there was already and still, is already.
Yeah.
But I think to see it in action is a totally totally different thing, right? You're able to relate to it more.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
I like this perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gives me a little bit more confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. It should.
Yeah. So anyway, like I feel like embarrassing moments in my life, when I just made light of them, and they've turned out to be much more funnier than I thought that they could have been. It actually changes. It changes everything. It changes the entire dynamic, and I actually love it. I love the fact that I'm able to take embarrassing moments and just laugh at myself, or I don't know. I feel like I try to do that to other people too, but sometimes if they don't get it, then they think that I'm embarrassing them. You know what I mean?
You're probably not referring to me. I don't get embarrassed easily either.
No. But I think that you see how I interact with other people.
Yeah.
And you're probably like,
Yeah.
Sean, they don't understand you the way.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
don't understand you like I do.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, dude, so true. I think you've chosen such a good topic.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we wrote it down when we were talking about it last. I don't know what actually you just messaged me that topic. I don't know what was going through your head.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what was going through my head.
Yeah.
I probably just finished watching that radio.
Bro, it's so good, because even though you would not see a virtue in embarrassment, but like you said, there is a virtue in embarrassment. I think most of my embarrassing moments, some of them are very innocent, right? Like जो बच्चों के टाइम पे होते हैं कि like किसी ने मेरी पीछे से सीट खींच ली क्लास में और मैं गिर गया, तो like that was बचपन में आपको बहुत embarrassing लगता है, अब जैसे अगर मैं कुछ कर रहा हूँ और मैंने कोई चीज गलत कर दी, राइट, या किसी ने देख लिया, किसी ने सुन लिया, राइट, तो मुझे उसमें भी फिर शर्म आ रही होती है, फिर वो आप रिप्ले कर रहे होते हैं, आपके दिमाग में ये क्या चल रहा है, तो सेम थिंग, राइट, हाउ वुड यू हैव रिएक्टेड, and I think it's actually, see, some people think correction is embarrassment or offensive, right? It's supposed to offend you, insult you, embarrass you, right? If someone is correcting you. मैं तो आगे से बोलता हूँ कि please मुझे बताना कि अगर मेरी कोई ऐसी चीज दिख रही है, that is not okay, because sometimes you go into a tunnel vision and you do things that are, sometimes not okay, right? And that's what embarrasses other people. And I'm not talking about you at all at this point. I'm just saying it in general that a lot of people do go through that, phase where they're unable to address क्या बोलते हैं कि what gets them embarrassed, या फिर उनको क्या चीजें affect हो रही है. तो I think it's a great topic, but virtues में अगर embarrassment को देखा जाए, तो अगर आप नहीं go through करते हो उन चीजों के, तो you also don't learn. You have to fall, you have to do the mistakes, you have to make fun out of yourself, or funny remarks or whatever you need to. You have to go through that embarrassing phase or embarrassing process. अब जैसे बाल अगर आप एकदम काट दो so I shaved my I'm having such a hard time growing it back. Okay. Because the phase of embarrassment as they're going, growing up again.
Dude, my face is red. Okay. So this is good. Because I think you did it with the hope you're like, you know what, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
The same exact thing is happening to me right here. I don't know if you noticed this or not. There's this little bald patch that doesn't connect right now.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
And it's so annoying to me, but I see it. Because look, it's not happening here, but it's happening here. And I'm just like, so what's up, guys? But I caught it because I was looking at another like video or picture of myself. We went to Chaiwala the other day. Did you see that? Yes. So I took my family to Chaiwala, and my mom took a picture of me with this angle, and I look like Hitler with this like money. And I was like, what is going on? Bro, and I'm like, oh man, this is not growing as much as I.
Not at all.
So it's funny because it could be embarrassing, but I laugh at it. I'm just like, look at this goofy little bald patch right here.
I think before a while back, like literally a while back, pre-COVID, maybe 6-7 years ago, when I was like really growing up in my in my own head. I used to think a lot about little embarrassments, छोटी social embarrassments, अगर मैंने कोई word गलत बोल दिया, या how, whatever it was. And I would think about those things again and again and again, and kind of like punish myself in my head. Okay, how are you so stupid? How can you not know, or how do you not know how to, do this or say this or be this way or don't do this again? And I started, I think, altering my personality a lot. And became a people pleaser just because of the fact that I had to go through embarrassment, right? Even as a kid. So I think those things really make a different person out of you, right? Until you realize that life is not that serious. और सबकी बोंगियां चल रही होती है 24/7.
No,
Everybody's making mistakes
but
left and right.
nobody's noticing your mistakes the way that
Exactly
you're
the way
noticing
you
your
notice
mistakes.
your mistakes. Exactly. So
Especially if
true.
you're like hypercritical. There's funny because I remember seeing the Elvis Presley movie. Remember the one where Austin, what's his name, is in it? You know what I'm talking about? The one that just came out, Elvis.
I don't know, man. I haven't seen
All
it.
right, so Elvis is from okay. So, anyways, Elvis kind of broke down the doors. The way that he got famous was he literally stole. He walked into a black church one day and he saw like how everybody was just kind of like praising God and like doing the shakes and doing all this stuff, and that's how he got the shake the
Oh, cool.
right, and then he pretty much appropriated that and then got really famous for it and never gave any credit back to the African American community. That was really the underlying story. But what he did for entertainers and entertainment was he broke down every single barrier and every single door, like how people get cheated in their contracts, how like people get stuck doing things that they don't want to do. Like Elvis wanted to travel the world and take his music around the world, and he could not get out of Las Vegas. He had this tenure in Las Vegas. He signed this contract that he wasn't able to get out, and he was like, and his manager manipulated him and said, well, why go around the world when people from around the world are coming here to see you? And he tried to make that he tried to like flip it on him in that way. It's kind of gaslighting. And but one thing that I walked out of that, because if Elvis looked at his own story, because he literally died overweight. He was the king, right? But he died overweight, drugged up on the toilet. That's how he died. And he OD'd on the toilet. And you think about that disgraceful fall, right? And if he were to come back and see that himself, that would be such an embarrassing like story or embarrassing moment or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I realized, you know where Elvis is from? Graceland. Graceland. He's from Graceland. And when you think about embarrassment, you think about the way to fix embarrassment is to give yourself grace. So you have to take yourself to Graceland and give yourself grace, surround yourself with grace, and you won't feel embarrassed from that moment anymore. That it's like the most important, it was one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned in my life. And it was like, yeah, like why take things so seriously? Why like have so much? Because embarrassment, the step after embarrassment is regret. Because first you feel embarrassment, then you feel regret, and then you have if you live in regret for the rest of your life and you have a regretful life or you have regretful memories for the rest of your life,
important topic. Yes.
you cannot get out of that, man.
Yeah.
That is a vortex. That is like going into the black hole. You like light cannot escape regret.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then depression follows and all these other emotions that just make it so much harder to get out of the circumstance. And so go to Graceland. Everyone, when you have an embarrassing moment, go to Graceland, give yourself some grace and get out from under it, because you do not want to regret every moment of your life. You do not want to regret everything that you do in your life.
I don't think we give enough grace to each other, like you said,
No.
or ourselves actually forget each other. We, feel that maybe लोग अपनी रेपुटेशन बचाने के लिए या अपनी उनके माइंड में जो रेपुटेशन होती है इमेजिनरी रेपुटेशन या वो बचा रहे होते हैं या फिर वो ऐसी चीजें कर रहे होते हैं कि लाइक हर कोई इम्प्रेस हो जाए उनसे तो आई थिंक ये दोनों चीजें गलत हो जाती हैं और इस तरीके से गलत हो जाती हैं कि you usually feel that embarrassment is going to be permanent.
Yeah.
Right? They're defined by their embarrassment then. Instead of moving past that embarrassment and it's also used as a weapon, socially as well.
Yeah.
That अगर हम इसको embarrass कर दें या इसकी कोई चीज हम लीक कर दें, या अगर किसी इनको हम शर्म दिला दें, embarrassment पे हम एक दूसरे को kind of control भी करते हैं, and that's a side that you would really not see directly because nobody's trying to implement it like that.
Yeah.
But it really does work like that when you are playing with emotions or when you're playing with, feelings. And I think we're getting caller on the line. We want to go ahead and take that.
All right. Radio Azad, you're live.
Hi, it's Aussie Roo in the house. How are you guys?
Oh yes.
Hi, we found you,
Oh
Lynn,
my God.
finally.
Lynn,
Lynn.
where the heck have you been? Our beautiful.
I am actually sick today at home. That is why I'm
Oh,
actually
thank God you're sick.
working
I'm so glad you're sick today.
today. And then I heard Sean talking about Elvis, and I just went, you know what? Just got to ring.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Our girl Lynn was on that movie.
That's so
It
awesome,
was crazy.
Lynn.
Amazing,
We
amazing.
still haven't watched it.
Oh, I watched it.
Oh, you watched it. I haven't watched it. Sorry, my
Yes,
bad.
you have to. It's amazing. It's amazing. But Sean, I was going to say to you, it was really confronting for me because if you remember the big Rockwood scene where they had the African Americans and right at the back and the whites at the front.
Yes.
In the morning, we'd all been getting ready, right, with our costumes, wigs and everything. And so we're all mixing everything like that. And then when I walked into that scene and I've seen all like the American people that I'd been speaking to, the African American people that morning, they were all roped off behind, like at the back. And I tell you what, it took me all my effort to actually walk onto set because, of course, me being white, I was in the front because that's how it was in those days. And I just went, oh, my God, I couldn't stand this. So when Baz Luhrmann said, right, he always says you create your own story. So I decided that my story, and you can actually see it in there, was to, once the music started and Austin Butler started singing Trouble and stuff like that, I was going to go and save the African-American people because I just actually couldn't stand them being behind the roped off area. And that is what I did. And I actually can see it in the movie. So, oh, boy, there was some, really, really difficult concepts in there that we had to actually face.
You remember what minute that was? Because I wanna like actually, if we can, the next week, I want to actually like go down to that exact scene and play it for our audience. Well, what minute was it?
Yes,
So I can write it
I
down.
can give that to you. I can send that to you.
Yeah. Message it to us on our Facebook.
I can send it to you later.
Yeah.
And let you know, like, it was just incredible. And I mean, I wasn't the only one who felt like that. And I know I spoke to some of the African American people later, and they felt like really, horrible as well too, you know, in that situation. And it really brought it home. And the fact that, you know, Elvis really, like, he loved spending time down at Beale Street and, you know, and it's just amazing to be on. So
that was the other thing, right? It was challenging because although he appropriated it, he didn't really know that that's what he was such an innocent soul, and he really didn't understand who was taking advantage of him, who was creating the narration around him. And as Lynn said, like, yeah, you're right, Lynn, like he would love to hang out with BB King, you know, in Memphis and hang out with, you know, all the people in the quote unquote colored part of, you know, the town on Beale Street. And that's where he would get his musical inspiration from. And that was his people. And, you know, it's so sad and challenging to kind of reconcile that. And, you know, I'm sure there was, you know, I think as a white woman, you felt embarrassed and you couldn't even imagine how embarrassed, you know, the people of color and Black people were in right behind you in that scene. And that wasn't even like the reality, right? That wasn't in the 1950s and 60s, right? So it was just a representation of time. And I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was incredible. And like Austin Butler, because we took 3 days to actually do that Rustwood scene, 3 days of like 16-hour days to film. It was incredible, you know, and but just like when they played, if you remember, Sean, they played like how they were banning, you know, the coloured people and things like that over when he wiggled his finger. Yeah. He said, like I said, the police officer said to him, don't even wiggle a finger. And then he put his finger up and wiggled it.
Yes, I remember that.
So, you know, and it was like, it was an incredible thing to be part of, but really confronting.
Yeah. And did you get to speak to Austin Butler at all? Like, did you get to interact with him at all?
Yes, well, with Tom Hanks, like he's about 2 meters away from me on set, but I didn't really get to interact with him. But Austin was amazing. He would always come on and he'd talk to us, ask us how our day was going. He'd always come on and hug his band members as well too. And he was just so personal. Exactly what you see, pretty much what you see, like in his interviews and stuff like that. He was very much like that, but he actually stayed in Elvis' character the whole time.
I mean,
even when,
Lynn, I would say even today. he's stayed in that character even today, like that deep, grindy like voice that he kind of developed as Elvis's.
Yeah,
Like he still kind of has that
yeah,
persona. He kind of changed his personality
yeah,
for that role. It's crazy.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it was amazing, and I actually did hear through the vibes that he actually was hospitalised after Elvis finished,
Wow.
and I could imagine because it was like absolutely grueling. It was just incredible. The carnival scenes that you see were like overnight,
Wow.
so like 3 overnights in a row, which. Yeah, I used to take a pillow so I could actually, get some sleep in between.
Wow. It's insane. Well, Lynn,
Yeah.
I hope you recover quickly, and I'm so glad that you're sick
Thank
tonight,
you.
so you can today, so that you could like listen to our show.
Yeah, for sure, Lynn. And I'm
I
so glad you shared such an awesome scene with us, and kind of like took us there.
Yeah,
I really was
Yeah.
imagining it in my head. So
yeah.
thank you for sharing that. It was
Yeah. No, that's
great
okay,
addition.
guys. So great to hear you again. And yeah, it really sucks that when you guys are on, I'm at work.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
know.
but
But
hopefully you feel better.
hopefully you start taking more Mondays off.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All
Thanks.
right.
I'll be
Thank you,
listening
Lynn. Keep
to it.
listening.
All right,
Yes.
everybody. That was Lynn Rose. We love her so much. She is our PVT for life,
Yeah.
and we're so glad that that she
Shout
was
out
able
to
to call
Anil
us.
Sahani as well.
AJ, Anil Jamal Sohani. So glad
Yep.
that he brought her to the
Brought us all
platform as
together,
well.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's the glue. He's the
for
glue.
sure.
So
Yes, lots of love.
all right. You had written some points down. That you
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
mean,
transition to.
I don't know. She was saying her story, and I was just thinking of, are we embarrassed to speak up, to stand up, to stand down, maybe, embarrassed to keep our egos aside, maybe, or, how embarrassment can actually, mean insecure thoughts like about a situation, and it could be insecurity about losing a person or winning a person over, and so, you kind of like fall into those embarrassing moments. जब आप चाहे किसी को मे भी इम्प्रेस करना चाह रहे हो तो आपके कोई बोंगी हो जाती है तो आप एम्बेरस हो जाते हो और अगर आप नहीं नहीं भी करना चाह रहे हो आप किसी की बेइज्जती करना चाह रहे हो और आपकी हो गई आगे से तो भी एम्बेरसिंग हो जाता है so embarrassing like embarrassment from your family and friends. I was just writing those ideas down. Okay. A lot of people kind of find shame in being with each other or being good to each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that plays out, right? I don't know how, not to say that we need to be, with each other all the time, no matter what, but embarrassed of like, let's say one another or one another's companies. And I've seen that, like, thank God, not around me, but I've seen that in situations that people are not okay, or they're kind of feeling embarrassed of, another person. Maybe it's happened to me as well, in the past, now that, I really dig deep. But it always made me wonder, how, like, in which part of our brain are we in to be in that situation, right? Or to put someone else in that situation.
Yeah. I think that it's so much easier. I think people find acts of embarrassment or things that like you do to put yourself out there as so much more courageous today than ever before in the past. I feel like everyone, when you do something and you fall on your face and you feel embarrassed, I feel like society today, with how sensitive people are becoming, they say, you know what, he tried or she tried or they wanted to do this, and look how brave they were that they at least put themselves out there to do it. I think when it comes to ourselves, it's the different weights that we put on the moment, right? Like if you're trying to holler at a girl, or you're trying to like, apply for a job or whatever it might be, right? The entitlement that we bring to the table,
yep,
right?
yep.
Versus the expectation, and the outcome that we want, it's like if we really are tied to, hey, I deserve this and I should have this, or when I do this, this is what should happen, doesn't really leave a lot of room for learning or screwing up.
Yeah, exactly. Screwing up. I think that's the correct way.
And if you don't, then you won't learn anything, and then it becomes even more embarrassing.
Yeah, so I think we learn things because we are either observing them or we're trying to engage with them, right? So I wrote down embarrassment also comes from effort to maybe failed effort to engage, you know?
Failed effort to engage. Wow.
So I really feel okay, maybe sometimes you're telling a joke, it doesn't come out right. That's an embarrassment, you know, or maybe you say the things that you're not supposed to say, and that becomes an embarrassment, right? And you don't know how to, and a lot of people what they do instead of embracing,
Yeah.
you know, embracing the embarrassing moment,
Yeah.
I think they try to cover it up by ego. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't do it like that. You know, that person maybe thought,
Defensiveness.
yeah, defensiveness. But I think ego is behind defensiveness.
Yeah.
I don't think you are defensive if it doesn't hurt your ego. You only become defensive when it hurts your ego.
Well, okay, so talk to me about this, because
Yeah.
like, even if, like, for example, if I'm using this and I'm kind of deflecting using humor because I'm not getting as embarrassed, is that not the same thing? Is that not ego in and of itself?
You know, I guess kind of.
Yeah.
It could be maybe the good ego,
Okay.
but I think there are parts, no, because there are
Yeah,
parts of our
healthy
ego, right?
ego.
The
Yeah.
healthy ego, exactly,
Yeah.
the healthy ego. Because you know that the embarrassment is not going to affect you.
Right.
That's a healthy ego,
Yeah.
right? And I think the bad ego, the unhealthy ego, is the part where we become defensive.
Yeah.
That because I want to protect myself, I want to defend it from this attack, and there is no attack.
Yes.
You get it?
Yep.
So you just presume of an attack, but that's why that's also self-preservation.
Yeah.
You know, part plays out in our ego.
Yeah.
Our egos, I think, really get hurt when we're trying to preserve ourselves or protect ourselves or how we think or defend our values or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Or our cultures, traditions, whatever we believe in. And I think the same thing goes into embarrassment as well. If you feel like, you know, oh, so and so person is an embarrassment to this, or so and so person, like I honestly feel that there's a lot of stupid people that do become an embarrassment for, like, let's say for an entire country, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has to follow, or like for an entire community,
Yeah.
or entire religion.
Talking about Trump.
Talking about everybody. I'm talking about everybody that's so dumb in their
Just
ways and so egoistic. They entertain their unhealthy ego so much that their belief is the most correct and gives them, you know, kya bolte apna, access to violate all the rules and laws of the world, and you can go ahead and do whatever you want because your ego, your belief, that's the most superior, right? And I think that's the root of all evil, is when we don't put our ego down, when we're not ready to be embarrassed, you know, just be embarrassed. It's okay. If you're a person, you're going to make mistakes. If you're a person, hopefully you're going to learn and grow. A good person learns and grows. A person who is stuck in their ways is also an egoistic person who does not like to get embarrassed. That makes them uncomfortable. Like, how can I be embarrassed? I've done everything right in my life. I've played all the cards right in my life. How dare someone embarrass me? Right? And that becomes an issue that runs on into generations, literally generations, right? आपकी पूरी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो रही है, families बर्बाद हो रही है, friendships बर्बाद हो रही है, हर चीज आपके around, you are not able to move on from your ego. Yeah, you made a mistake. You don't even see, the thing is, the beautiful thing about accepting your mistake, you don't have to announce it. You just accept it and you look at yourself as a person and you're like, okay, yeah, I was an idiot. What did I learn? Okay, this is what I've learned. I'm gonna try not to do that again. And it sounds simple because it is very simple. There's no rocket science to that, right? To put it in effort, yes, obviously, everything that you want to permanently change in your life or permanently make positive in your life, every time you're going to have to try to make it positive.
I think that there's something that's beautiful about moving into embarrassment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I remember there's this episode. There's amazing guest that came on the show. Her name is Sarah Jane Ho. She's the one. She's coming out with the second season, but her first season on Netflix was a show called Mind Your Manners.
Nice.
And the first episode was, I believe, a girl named Stephanie. And what she did was she had, like, you know, everywhere she would go, it'd be like, you know, at 3 p.m. for brunch, she would dress up like she's going to the club, you know, and she had all this makeup and all this stuff on. And one scene, SJ made her take off her makeup, and that was so embarrassing for her. And I think that there's such a fine line in moving forward in embarrassment, but in a very vulnerable way. And in that episode, right after she took her makeup off, Sarah Jane took her makeup off as well. And they had this beautiful moment together where they were both vulnerable. And I'm sure they both felt embarrassed, right? They had all these blemishes and they were talking about these little things on their face that they didn't like or whatever. They're both beautiful women.
Yeah.
And it just showed me this incredible insight into how embarrassment can move into vulnerability, and then you can learn from that and actually grow. And that growth is the only thing that matters in life, man.
Yeah, I think we are kind of scared of social embarrassment as well, in a sense कि अगर कोई fat shaming कर रहा है या अगर कोई भी type की shaming कर रहा है तो हम
Yeah,
उसके लिए embarrassed feel करते हैं. I I know I felt, body conscious for the longest time,
yeah,
in my life.
yeah,
So I think I'm also one of the people that, would be so particular about things, because of the way that I didn't want my body to come off, right? And that made me a different type of person too. Uh, I think it really put me down in my own eyes,
yeah,
where I felt like I'm not loved enough, but I wasn't giving myself that kind of love, right? And I think we want it so bad from the outside. We want other people to look beyond what we are on the outside so much, but we're not willing to do that for ourselves. And it wasn't until that I started to do it, for myself, and maybe started to take, better care for my health, and I started to fit into better clothes, and
right.
more fitted clothes. So I think being embarrassed is okay.
Yeah.
People are going to make fun of you, and sometimes it's just out of jokes. It's not to put anyone down, or we haven't learned that we're just learning that, right? We
Yeah.
did not know how much of a difference it makes going into a person's head, maybe staying there forever and going into their kids too and becoming their insecurities, right?
Hmm.
So now we're really minding our languages around each other as well, and how we verbalize things, and to protect each other and to protect ourselves. But the main thing, when it comes down to, I lost my train of thought, but I think the main thing that comes down to embarrassment, that I think if we overlook the fact that it's trying to teach us something, right? The moment that we feel embarrassed, we really need to kind of pay attention which part of us is feeling embarrassed.
Hmm.
Is it the part of us that wants to be skinnier? Is it the part of us that wishes that also had white privilege? Is it the part of us
Is it the
that
part of us that regrets
yeah, is it the
or
part? So,
that
yeah,
wants to
exactly.
grow?
Yeah, or wants to grow. But see, the beautiful thing, another beautiful thing that life has is past,
Yeah.
right? Because it is all here in your head, but it's no longer physically there.
Mhm.
You cannot access it once it's gone. So it's done its part. It's taught you whatever it needed to teach you. What do you do with it going forward is what really matters, right? When you look at your past, and I think embarrassment, that's the bad part about embarrassment, because you're always looking at your past and you're like, man, I could have done this better.
Yeah.
Man, I really messed up. I really screwed up. I really embarrassed myself. I made a fool out of myself. And everyone feels that way. But the more you keep looking at the back, the more chances there are that you're going to crash into something not looking ahead, right?
Yeah.
So I think you can be an embarrassed man,
Mhm.
to your family, to your friends, to yourself even, as long as you don't stay an embarrassed man forever,
Hmm.
or an embarrassed person forever.
Yeah.
Don't let, I guess, embarrassment define you, because there's wins in our lives too, right? That maybe we don't talk about enough.
Well, embarrassment without growth is stagnation, right?
Yeah.
I think the
Oh, I love
mechanism,
that.
yeah, the
Yes.
mechanism that gets you there, I think, has to be a growth mindset
Hmm.
or vulnerability or like just seeking truth
Hmm.
or just not taking life so seriously, having an edge of laughter and lightheartedness and kindness to yourself, giving grace. Like all these things matter so much because like what is intelligence really, right? I mean, I think there's an evolution of what intelligence
Oh,
is and it
absolutely.
feels like. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
initially we thought intelligence was all about your academic output, right? Like how well can you memorize formulas, put puzzles
Hmm.
together and things of that sort. And then it switched to emotional, like,
Hmm.
okay, how are you emotionally intelligent? How can you handle yourself? What does your etiquette look like? Things of that sort. And now today it's your adaptability. How
Hmm.
adaptable are you to the changing situations that are happening, politically, in your work life, whatever it might be, in your family life, in your relationships, and within yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's how now we measure intelligence. These things just constantly evolve, on top of themselves. And there's so much thoughtfulness that comes along with it. But if society is moving forward in a certain direction, you kind of have to allow yourself to grow along with it.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and, and it's
absolutely.
embarrassing to do it. And you see that, right? You see that with like wokeism and what wokeism is currently doing to society, because it's certain wokeism like ideologies are going so far left that they're tearing the entire country apart, and the right is pulling just as hard on the other
You know, the
side.
problem is everybody's defining their own woke,
Yeah.
right? Everyone has their own woke.
Yeah.
हम सब जाग गए अपनी अपनी
This
जगहों
is
पे.
brilliant. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, because I feel like all these woke people don't agree with each other. And it's like, if all of you guys are woke, then how are you not able to see the point is not to agree, but also disagree to agree,
Yeah.
agree to disagree. Sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. Agree to disagree, right? You don't have to entertain every thought that comes into your mind. And if you feel that you are enlightened in your life's path, that's a different story. But thinking that you're woke and you know it all about every person, every country, every situation, without having any knowledge of any background, I think that woke is like the not the right woke, at all. That's not the woke you want to follow. I think when people say that they're woke or they're waking up to their own mistakes. They're waking up to their own cycles. They're waking up to their own patterns. They're waking up to their own life. कि ओके मैंने अभी तक क्या क्या किया है, मेरे अराउंड क्या क्या चल रहा है, कौन सी चीजें कॉन्शियसली हो रही है, कौन सी चीजें सबकॉन्शियसली हो रही है. When
Yeah.
you take control of your mental health, I think that is when you become woke, right? Universally woke. Otherwise, you are just a woke person in, let's say, I guess politics, for
Mhm.
example, right?
Mhm.
Or a woke person in music, quote unquote, whatever, or in astrology, right? It could be anything. It could be anything and everything. You can feel woken, but
Where do you think accountability falls into this formula?
and
Because
being woke.
no, in this whole embarrassing thing,
Oh,
because
I
like
love it.
I feel like a lot of times when we feel embarrassed, we don't want to take accountability for the thing that
Yeah.
we're just like, this person embarrassed me
Me, yes.
and it's their fault, and
That's the
why should I have
defensiveness
to?
that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the thing that fights that is accountability, but where does accountability actually come from? Like,
बट
how do you
अकाउंटेबिलिटी
actually?
आ ही नहीं सकती अगर आपको पता ही नहीं कि आपके अंदर कोई वॉइड है या कोई इनसिक्योरिटी है जिसकी वजह से आप एम्बेरस फील करते हो, राइट? अगर आपको पता है,
Because
अगर
when
आप
you're feeling defensive, you don't know
see a
that
confident
that's
person, a truly confident person, like such as yourself, I'm gonna use you an example. No, I really mean it. You know that you're not perfect,
yeah.
but you do know that, and you also know that you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna look,
And I
foolish sometimes,
probably
and
made
it's
a lot of
okay.
mistakes on the show.
Yeah, it's okay because you kind of know what you're trading that off for, right? Or
Right.
trading that off with. That's the difference. When a person that feels embarrassed, and कोई ऐसी situation हो जाती है जो उनके control के, out of control होती है, तो फिर वो बिल्कुल अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं ले सकते क्योंकि कोई अकाउंटेबिलिटी उनको नजर नहीं आती है, ठीक
Why?
है?
Why?
दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग कि कोई उनके आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल हो जाती है कि लेट्स से अगर किसी ने
Because they don't have control.
नहीं कोई किसी ने अगर तेरे चेयर लाइक तेरी बट के पीछे
Yeah.
से अगर चेयर खींच ली और
Yeah,
तो
yeah,
गिर जाता है,
yeah.
तो उसमें तेरी क्या अकाउंटेबिलिटी है?
No, but if that
तुझे
happens to
चिपक
me,
जाना चाहिए था कुर्सी के साथ, नहीं. So there is a difference in situation. But अगर कोई ऐसी चीज करते हो कि like for example you're trying to trip someone and you just like ended up tripping yourself, right? And like you look
if somebody
foolish.
pulled out my chair,
Yeah.
right, and if it was a buddy of mine,
Uh-huh.
and like they did it, and
Just for fun.
for fun,
Yeah.
I would laugh with them.
Yeah,
Because I would
true.
be like, that's hilarious. But
True.
if it's like an enemy that
Yeah.
tried to do it, or like somebody that I don't like at all that did it, then it would be really upsetting to me. I don't know if I would be embarrassed, but I would be enraged.
Yeah,
because
it's more to do with bullying, I think.
that's 'cause that's like an act of war to me. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, cool. Well,
Yeah. So I mean, I think for people that are like pushovers, that's kind of like, oh snap, I look so dumb. Everyone laughed at me. So I think it was more of that for me.
yeah, I wouldn't even
Right?
care. Like if somebody pulled out my chair from underneath me and it was somebody I didn't like,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't even care who was laughing. I'm like, dude,
Bro, to
this
be
guy,
really honest,
this
I
guy's
just
done.
remember the embarrassing moment. That's the funny part, right? That I remember the embarrassing moment. I have no idea which kid did it. I don't even remember his name or
Yeah.
his face,
Yeah.
I don't remember who was in my class. I don't remember anybody. I don't remember nothing,
Yeah.
So I don't, that's the funny part, that you feel that embarrassment kind of like stays with you because it makes you feel some type of way, right?
Right.
So when, there are some other people or other things that are going to happen out of control, and maybe you'll be embarrassed or you'll be in an embarrassing situation where you don't have the control. But even then, I think the lesson learned is that, okay, move on. Literally, there's no other way for us to overcome our embarrassment or our shortcomings or our expectations until unless we move on and see what life has to offer elsewhere, or by doing something else, or by being around other people. And as kids, to be really honest, तो कोई इतना सेंटी सीन नहीं है, मैं कोई इतनी big deal नहीं, ये तो सिर्फ एग्जांपल की तरह हमने यूज किया है. It's not a big deal because when you see kids, they're all having fun. They're having,
Yeah,
fun.
so I have something about
Yeah,
this.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like because this is really giving me making me bitch in, because it reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah.
So right now, what I feel like we're describing is fight or flight,
Ah,
and you're
survival.
describing flight,
Hmm.
and I'm describing fight.
Yeah.
Because it's like no matter what, right? Like at least as a kid growing up, I would remember the people who would cut down other people.
Hmm.
And if they ever came after me, I wouldn't care if everybody was laughing at me and making fun of me and calling me names and all that stuff. I'd be like, who is the guy that got that name out to everybody? And I would do everything I could to try to destroy that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, not
I'm
me.
like, because I'm like, dude, like you are literally the antithesis of what should be existing in society right now. How do I destroy you?
Yeah.
And I would figure out whether it's cut downs or like yo mama jokes or whatever it might be, or like picking out all of their weaknesses or figure whatever, right? Some people use, martial arts or self-defense or whatever, but like I was like, if you're going to verbally get at me, I'm going to destroy you mentally. You know what I mean?
See, for me, it was, I think most of the time it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I had gotten into a few fights, as a kid, but it wasn't my only resort. I think it was more me feeling sorry for myself and for them as well, in a sense, really feeling sorry for them as well.
So it's just like a sad world.
It's just a sad world. It was a sad world, man, back then,
But
for me.
it's depressing, man.
That was very dark and depressing for me as a kid,
I'm so sorry.
Dude, I used to really try to like hurt myself, cut myself. Like it was a dark childhood for me, back then. But now, Shukr, because it's past like a nightmare, I don't remember it like that. I don't have access to it like that emotionally where it hurts me anymore.
Yeah.
But it's, obviously it's a part of my existence. So nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to hide.
No, but I'm learning from this. Like this is like so important for me to like at least understand, because a lot of people I don't even know
because
this
then
side.
what would make me realize that person is hurting the other person because they're also hurt.
Yeah,
knowing
hurt
that
people.
Exactly, knowing that psychology, even as a young person, knowing that psychology, it can really test your patience. You really get tested every time because someone is not trying to be hurtful. They're just spewing their hurt, but how tolerant are you gonna be, right? How much are you going to take somebody else's hurt? And I've had to be a sponge for a long time, and I had no problem, doing that. I still don't have a problem doing that, only because I know what I'm trading that off with, right?
Yeah.
Which is peace, which is just mental peace. For me, that's like priceless.
But it's not peaceful.
For me, it's peaceful.
No, it's sad
because I've learned it. Because I've learned it. So I'll tell you really honestly, like right now, and I'm not making anything up.
Sure.
But I have learned to be okay in this situation so much that it's become my second nature that for me, it does provide me peace. If that makes sense.
I think, okay.
Like I've been conditioned to get peace out of it.
I think what I'm hearing is this is familiar, and because it's familiar,
I love that.
Yeah. That doesn't actually mean peace. That just means familiarity, and so you don't have to fight it, and you don't have to like do it because you're so used to being in this space of melancholy or this depressed space of sadness. And
not anymore. I'm okay.
Not okay. But if the thing is that these things keep happening over and over again, so you find yourself, whether it's long term, short term. I mean, dude, like imagine what happened a few years ago, right? That was a very depressive state, and for you guys to kind of like come out of that together, like it was amazing. But that doesn't mean that you don't fall into it and say, okay, this is at least familiar and I can navigate it because it's familiar. And that drop should not be, you gotta find the vulnerability or whatever it might be to get out of that space.
So like for me as a person, I think even as a kid, because I wasn't able to dance back to back so much because I had I was binded, so I would conserve my energy, so I would be like, okay, every other dance I'm gonna go and dance it, right? So I would conserve my energy like that, and I think that's how I am as a person too. I conserve my energy, and I conserve my energy not through confrontation but through distance, but through maybe sorting out my own thoughts. That's how I do take the calm or find my peace, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm totally. I feel like I'm vibing with you. I feel like in those moments,
Yeah.
in those gaps, it is that down moment, but it is peace because it's familiar, but it's still underlined by some level of
ये
embarrassment.
बहुत अच्छी बात की. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. I don't think there's a person who's been through an embarrassing childhood
Yeah.
will ever be a full grown, confident adult for life. I don't think that is possible because
Tell me why.
because your early years have been influenced so much by that embarrassment that it is going to cross your mind,
Yeah.
in one way or another. You will think about it. You will at one, maybe in your lowest points, you will question yourself. You will probably fall into
Wow.
that pattern, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what you've seen early on in your life. So I don't think you can escape that, and you can be unrealistic with yourself, because I think what we do as people, we have unrealistic expectations of ourselves, that we want to be the perfect person, perfect looking person, stay as perfect as we can, and that is not real. We are not being real with ourselves if we are not also forgiving ourselves, right? Or knowing the flaws in ourselves, or knowing our patterns, that, okay, how am I going to navigate that? That's what I thought was beautiful.
This is really interesting because identifying your pattern, as you
Mm.
said, is so brilliant. The most embarrassing moment of my life was when I went to my dad's funeral. Nobody told me that he died. I get to the whole family comes together. We get to my dad's funeral. They do the ghusl. They bring my dad out and they lay him down. And I'm looking at him like, okay, like, let's go, dad. Like, get up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's not getting up. And I'm thinking that we're there to listen to his last vais because he was an Alawais, he was a missionary, and that he's going to get up and give this amazing speech. That's why the whole Jamaat showed up, and the Jamaat showed up from all these different Jamaat khanas. People came from Los Angeles. Everyone was there to watch my dad perform his last sermon, and he wasn't getting up. And then people are crying, and I'm like, people are crying because they're sad that this is going to be his last sermon. And then all of a sudden it hits that he's dead and my life is going to change forever. Like, that's it. And I look back and I look at my uncle and he just has this look of pity on his face. Like, he just realized it. You know what I mean? And my response to that was, I just looked around. I was like, F you guys, man.
Yeah.
F you guys. The whole family, bro. Nobody told me my dad's dead.
Yeah.
No, until I had to
See it.
I was seeing it for like 5-10 minutes,
Yeah.
probably. It might have been 2 minutes, but it felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, get up, bro. Like, let's go. And that put me in fight mode.
Yeah.
And it was like the most embarrassing moment of my life. And I was like, what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? Am I gonna go into this deep dark space, or am I gonna say
But man, you were
never?
too young. I think like at 7, you don't even know how to process your thoughts. I don't even think until you're like 25 or 28, you know how to process your thoughts. I
Man,
think you're just
it
delusional about processing your thoughts until then,
no, because I agree with you. Like, when you said that the way that you responded to embarrassment was this flight mode of like going into this melancholy space.
Yeah.
That's you processing it, man.
Yeah.
And you do what you do in childhood the same way that you do as an adult
Yeah.
until you really go in and start pulling all those deep rooted feelings and actions up, and you say, okay, why am I behaving this way? Why did I do it this way? Why did I
एक्चुअली
react
पता
this
है
way?
क्या है शान, ये बहुत ही मॉडर्नाइज हमारी वर्ल्ड हो गई है अब, क्या हम ऐसा सोच भी सकते हैं?
Yeah.
People from previous generation, they think हम बकवास कर रहे हैं. Like, कितनी बाल की खाल निकाल रहे हैं,
I don't think so.
No, I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people that are unaware of how, if you introspect, it changes your life, or you have the power to take control of your life
Yeah,
like
those
that.
people are too insecure to introspect.
Yeah,
That's their defense
they
mechanism.
live in embarrassment. The problem is they live in embarrassment.
Or they live in trying to fight embarrassment, or
Exactly.
trying to avoid
Yes,
embarrassment.
avoid embarrassment.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because they're always feeling embarrassed for something or another. Because everyone is watching them. Everyone is talking about them.
Or their parents constantly made them feel embarrassed growing up.
True.
Why did you do that? Shame. Ye aisa kyun karta hai? Boom, boom, and then like punishing you every 10 seconds.
Yeah, consequences.
Okay, guess what? I can't do anything right. And then, like, I mean, I feel like that's kind of what happened to Hina, right? Like, just always being told, why do you do it this way? Boom, boom. I think a lot of women feel this way.
Yeah, man.
Women
so
feel
true. Embarrassed.
Yeah, not even Hina. I think a lot of women are just
A lot of
constantly
it, yep.
like picked on to say, okay, like, you can't do anything right. Why did you
Yeah,
do
but
this?
sadly, you know, women talk
Yeah.
about women. I'm so sorry, but even men talk about women, but I think men are more likely not until unless they are, you know, abusive in a relationship or whatever, but as friends or as like people to
I
have
think men
around.
are way more critical of women.
I think if they're husbands, not see if you see them in any other role, maybe brothers, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a critical
Fathers,
brother.
fathers, but you're just a critical person. So I don't, yeah, I'm sorry that does not define a brother role. You know, and sometimes you have to be critical, but I'm saying जो abusive husbands होते हैं, yes, वो तो बिल्कुल ही फजूल ही होते हैं वैसे तो, you know, they're like insecure themselves. That's why they're critical of other people, right?
Yes.
Like that. But I think women in general do that to women all the time. तो कुछ किसी भी रोल में ले ले, अगर कोई सास बहू है, अगर कोई बहू सास है, you know, like bahus are talking about, or not are, but like it's been a thing in our like culture, right?
Yeah.
Friends एक दूसरे के बारे में बातें कर रही होती हैं, अरे इसने तो ऐसा कर दिया, उसने तो वैसा कर दिया,
Sisters,
sisters कर रही होती हैं, you know,
cousins.
हाँ सब कोई कर,
Yeah.
बट औरतों में ज्यादा ये चीज कॉमन है कि वो लोग एक्चुअली साथ में मिल के करते हैं. It's an activity. Everyone gets involved.
Yeah.
And you know, it's very subconscious, but it affects women very highly. अब तू मर्दों का भी तू देख लेना, आदमी लोग भी एक दूसरे के बारे में करते हैं, you know, बातें, बट किस लेवल तक करते हैं? अगर कल को वापस मिल गए तो शायद दोस्त हो जाएंगे.
Right.
They'll go drink together, they'll go play some sports together, and everything is good.
Hey, girlfriend.
Everything's good, right? But I think औरतें बहुत less forgiving है, and I think you're very right कि conditioning उनकी from the past इतनी खराब हुई है कि they've been embarrassed for whatever they wanted to do, right? If they wanted to do a career, if they didn't want to have children, if they didn't want to get married, you know, even right now अभी भी you know लड़कियों को embarrass किया जाता है, ओ तेरी तो इतनी एज हो गई है, तू बच्चा कर ले, तेरी इतनी एज हो गई है, तू शादी कर ले, you know, it's happening all the time. ओ तू मोटी हो गई है, तू पर भाई क्या है, क्यों कोई नहीं जी सकता अपने हिसाब से, राइट? हर एक को वो होता है अपना राइट होता है जीने का. एंड आई थिंक वी फाइंड कंट्रोल इन एम्बैरसिंग पीपल, राइट, एंड मेकिंग देम realize their flaws because we don't want to look at our own.
Yeah, because I think that when you get embarrassed and then you get sensitive and then you start perpetuating sensitivity, then you get even more embarrassed faster.
But I think there's some things that happen, they're also being provoked, you know, as in के आप चाहते हो कि कोई आपको embarrass करे, ताकि आपको फील हो कि यार ये बंदा कितना बुरा है, इसने मुझे ऐसा फील करवाया, राइट? सो आप कभी कभार चाहते भी हो कि आपको कोई embarrass करे, कि मैं तो जिस तरह भी बिहेव कर लूं, तुम मुझे सामने से बताओ कि मैं embarrass कर, you know, कि like मैं embarrass होना चाहिए, मुझे embarrass होना चाहिए.
So this is like how you identify your enemies, by who's embarrassing you when.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I mean, exactly. I mean, not really your enemies, but people that are embarrassed of themselves.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
because I've really learned this thing.
Because you're not trying to fix it. You're trying to
nobody's
blame.
trying to nobody's trying to fix their own things. So they're just pointing out things in other people.
This is so interesting. I watched this this professional video because I'm trying to become a better coworker as well. And
yeah, I mean, we should try to be better
always
at every
improve.
role.
One thing that I saw, and it was this lady on TED, she was talking about civility and how people who are more civil at work get promoted faster. And that doesn't actually mean that they are better at the work or that they can be more competent or that they care more or they care less or whatever. They're just more civil. And so because they're more civil, they're seen as more safe. And if they're more safe, then they are more liked. And if they're more liked, then they get the promotion. And I think about that and I'm just like, dude, like I get the whole idea of being liked. I love being liked. I feel like I'm a pretty liked person. But when things really matter and we keep screwing things up, like you got to be critical at some point. And you have to be able to take embarrassment or take a lesson and say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable here. Here's what happened. How do we grow from here?
Yeah.
And you're right, man. Most people are not trying to do that, especially at work. You know what I mean? They're getting enough of this in their social circles, in their families, all that stuff. So the solution that this lady, I think, is saying is just be civil and move on, and you'll still get your success in your career.
No, see,
I don't want that. I'd rather have the right results than.
No, I get it. No, that's true. But I also feel that, you know, when we're critical, when we are, you know, I guess criticizing people right on the spot or in our team, I think there are ways of doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I think even with your post that you wrote, that curiosity, does not kill a cat, risk, trying to scare you, which is true,
Yeah.
because it's not the curiosity that killed the cat, but it's the approach, right?
Right.
So I don't think it's, more of being civil. I think you still should tell your problems. I think you should still speak out your mind, but I think there is an approach to it, right? I think if you do it with, to save someone's dignity, and be critical at the same time, I think it's more effective, right? And और अगर उस बंदे को आपकी बात नहीं सुननी है तो वैसे ही नहीं सुनेगा, चाहे आप उनको अच्छाई के लिए बोल रहे हो या जो भी है, बट अगर उसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा तो उसको नहीं समझ में आएगा। बट अगर आपको सिविल बनने से, एज इन के किसी की और की डिग्निटी प्रोटेक्ट करने से, अगर आपको थोड़ा सा आपको भी फायदा हो रहा है, so it's a win-win situation, in a point where you are also saving someone's dignity and also yourself, that hey, I have an objection on this, or I have a comment to make on this, or I have a suggestion for this, and this is what I think we can do. Think about it, right? Because I think what we do sometimes, because we can see things from a different perspective, that does not give it the only perspective. And when you are doing it with dignity, as in के जब आप किसी को साइड में ले कर रहे हो तो आपका एक डिस्कशन भी बनता है, otherwise a person feels attacked, right? So if you're doing it in a setting, group setting, and you're pointing one person out, that person is going to feel attacked because there are other people that don't need to be involved in that conversation. When you do it one-on-one, I think it opens a dialogue, or a discussion that, hey, okay, why am I thinking this way and why are you thinking that way? And I think that's why our conversations work so well on the radio and off the radio as well, because we provide that to each other. That hey, I didn't like this, or I didn't like that, or you can do this better, or I can see you do this, why aren't you able to do this? And then vice versa, right? And it keeps coming back and forth. So I think we don't feel embarrassed, and I think when you don't feel embarrassed, kind of being critical to each other and taking that criticism well and a positive feedback, I think that's how safe spaces are created. I think criticism is also necessary.
Yeah, this is, an important lesson actually that my mom taught me. Whenever she would never call me out at the moment that I did something wrong.
Yeah.
She would wait and she would think about it. Then she would think about the right way to frame it.
Yes.
And then she would always take me out for Ked's
Your
ice cream.
mom is awesome.
She would
love
take
your
me
mom.
out for Ked's ice cream.
Yeah.
And we'd literally sit down
Yeah.
across from each other at the booth and eat ice cream, and she would tell me, hey, what happened here? So they say like kill you with kindness kind of thing, but like she put me in such a meaty position, like a sweet, beautiful, like
safe position,
safe place.
Yeah.
And because I felt safe, I was like, yeah, I did really screw up here. I don't think she really needed to do that, because I'm like the guy that like loves like being thrown in the fire and like
No, I think she
don't mind the
really
embarrassment,
wanted
but
to do that for
she
you.
wanted to do that for me,
Yeah.
which was like the sweetest, kindest, most loving thing in the world.
That is
Even
most
yesterday.
definitely.
Yesterday we had like a really, really difficult, like a really difficult conversation. It was this one of the greatest moments of my entire life, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? That's me. And
Yeah.
after that event happened, my mom didn't come up to me and wish me congratulations. You know what I mean? And everybody else was like, hey, where's your mom?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, like if you see her, can you please like call her over, because I can't find, there's like 9,000 people in this hall. And I didn't see her for like 4 hours. And I was like, dude, like why aren't you looking for me? Like, what's going on? And the conversation, and I said, what I realized, Mom, was everything, like I've already hit a baseline of whatever it is, success, notoriety, religiosity, understanding, intellect, whatever, that you are now proud of me. And you're not, even if I didn't hit that, I think you would still love me and be proud of me and be proud of who I am. But you don't have to follow each one of my successes anymore, because everything that I do now is on me. Like if I want to do this, I can't be doing this for you. I have to do it because that's what I want to do for myself. And it was such an embarrassing conversation for both of us, right? My mom was like, I can't believe that I wouldn't come up to you and say congratulations. And I'm like, you didn't. Like, I remember every minute of that day. And I was like, I felt embarrassed too. And she was like, at the end of it, she said, I'm so glad that you opened up and talked to me about this.
Yeah.
Because
she would have not had any idea.
She goes, she said, every day is not a Sunday.
Yeah. Amazing.
Another ice cream reference.
Yeah. No, amazing.
But
amazing,
like that resilience and that understanding that life is embarrassing too. Like came from, I think a lot of that lesson also came from my mom, man. Like she hasn't had the most like amazing, like she her life is filled with embarrassments and she just laughs through it. And I feel like I do the same thing. I think I'm my mother's son.
You are from 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No
It's so
doubt.
cool, man. It's so cool. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mom. I love you. Thank you.
Yes. I love you too, Auntie. I think
You're
you're
really good
amazing.
mom.
Yes, for sure, man. I think our moms did the best that they could, right? With whatever they could with the situation to raise us as healthy, mentally healthy children. Because
Really
I
good
think,
mom.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think really
Moms, both moms.
Yes, absolutely. I think really it's a challenge for parents not to feel embarrassed of their children. But because बच्चे गलतियां भी करते हैं, गलतियों से शायद सीखते भी हैं, कोई कोई वैसे ही रह जाते हैं, बट कोई कोई लोग सीखते भी हैं, और माँ बाप के लिए बहुत चैलेंजिंग हो जाता है कि यार ये हमें तो बेटर पता है लेकिन इनको नहीं पता, राइट?
Right.
They don't see it, we can see it, they don't see it. So I think big props to parents always,
Giving grace, man.
for giving grace to their children, the ones that do. And also for children, sometimes जब आप बहुत कूल हो रहे होते हो, बड़े हो रहे होते हो, टीनेज हो रहे होते हो, आपको ऐसा होता है कि यार माँ बाप एम्बेरसिंग है, माँ बाप के साथ हैंग आउट करना एम्बेरसिंग है, राइट? वो हम उस मोड से भी गुजरते हैं कि ओ माँ बाप के साथ रहना एम्बेरसिंग है, बहुत सारे, और यहाँ के कल्चर में तो वो भी रहना भी एम्बेरसिंग है। आप रह ही नहीं सकते अपने माँ बाप के साथ, लोग आपको जूते मारेंगे। कोई और नहीं बोलेगा, कुछ लोग आपको जूते मारेंगे पकड़ पकड़ के कि यार इसको देखो, ये अपनी माँ के साथ रहता है, बाप के साथ रहता है, राइट? No, I mean, I'm just giving it a cultural reference.
But I feel like parents want you to live there,
Of
right?
course, of course. But
yeah, it is
as they
embarrassing.
should, as they should. See, I don't think either way it's a wrong decision.
Yeah.
I think it's up to you and how it serves your life. Just like what age you get married, whatever, however it is, man.
Yeah.
It's your own life. My point is, socially or culturally, it is so different that you get bashed for things. और अगर आप जैसे अगर आप पाकिस्तान में कर रहे हो और अगर आप वहाँ नहीं ख्याल रखते अपने आप का, तो आपको जूते राइट? अगर आप यहाँ पे रहते हो तो उल्टा है कि अगर आप रह रहे हो तो फिर आपको जूते पड़ेंगे कि यार ये कैसा है, क्योंकि आई थिंक दे आल्सो डिड अ शो ऑन दिस, राइट? हाउ इफ यू लिव विद योर पेरेंट्स,
that's
Tasneem and Aisha ji, yes.
I was like, because Tasneem's like a life coach, and she was like, yeah, you're just an extension of your family, and like, I would love for my kids to live with me until I'm like 98 years old. I'm just like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I was like life coach.
But I think you also need to provide those things, right? And I think the children that are kind of like deprived, and I think in your sense too specifically, and I think I can relate to it in some sense because my father wasn't living with us ever since I was like 13, right?
Yeah.
So I never saw him after. So it kind of like I lost my father around the same time as well, right? Younger age. So I think when you have that figure missing, you kind of want to explore more in life or do more in life to learn more, to fill that void, right? To fill
that's how
absence.
I came to that's how I came to mentorship, man.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly, because you kind of want to be that person that you're looking to or you were looking to have.
No, I wanted people to mentor me.
Oh, you wanted people to mentor you.
I was seeking out mentorship from everybody. I was like, yo, teach me. Like, I don't know anything, man. I'm like a kid without a father. Like, help me out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And to a lot of people that don't go through those situations, it's not that big of a deal for them because they don't know what it's like, right? And it's not supposed to be a thing that, you're just supposed to cry about. I think God gives you one thing or another to make your life full, right? He fulfills you in one way or another. You will always have something maybe that the other person doesn't have, right? So I think when you're talking about embarrassment as well, you're also going to have your share of embarrassments also that the other people are not going to have, or maybe they will have, right? But if they don't have it, or if you have too many of your embarrassments that you remember, I promise you, you're probably the only person that remembers them. Other people are too busy remembering their own.
They are people are so in their own bubble. That's the other thing. Like, you think about divorce, you think about all the challenges that you have in your life, bro. Like, nobody remembers and nobody cares.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Honestly, bro. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you, NZ. Do you have any other final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good. I think we had an awesome topic tonight. Hopefully you guys get a chance to listen, share, like, follow us, and watch us every Monday night. Break it down for you right here on Radio Azad, baby.
Where your voice matters. This is love. 3, 2, 1. Come on now, deuce.